According to Sigmund Freud, in 1940, the personality is composed of 3 parts. The first is the id, which is present at birth. The id is based on the pleasure principle. It is the unconscious mind that operates according to how one is feeling. The pleasure principle describes why infants and young children act on urges for pleasure. The second part of the personality structure is the ego. The ego is developed in the early childhood stage of life. This part of the personality tries to balance the pleasure principle and the perfection principle. In between the pleasure and perfection principle is the reality principle. The reality principle is the ability of the mind to assess the reality of the external world and to act accordingly. It is a balancing act between the superego and the id. The third part of the personality structure is the superego. This is part of the unconscious and conscious mind, developed between the ages of 3 and 6. It is also in a constant battle with the id, determining right from wrong. The perfection principle derives from the rewards for good behavior. It differs and compares to the pleasure principle. Altogether, the personality structure works as an iceberg. Most of our unconscious mind is hidden and controlled, as our conscious mind is a balancing act of our unconscious mind. Freud's psychoanalytic theory, he tried to explain how someone develops their personality. His theory is, as each person developed and goes through psychosexual stages, they develop their sense of personality. There are 5 stages to his psychosexual theory, and the first one is the oral stage. This stage starts at birth and goes until a child is about 18 months old. During this part of the child's life, most of the focus is on their mouth. They can find relief from tension by sucking, biting, or chewing. The stage is the anal stage, which starts when the child is 18 months old and goes to when they are 3. This stage focuses on finding anal pleasure, and oftentimes it is paired with when a child is potty training. The stage is the phallic stage. This begins at the age of 3 and ends when the child is about 6 years old. During this stage, a child understands the difference in the sexes. During this stage, 2 complexes can be developed, the Oedipus complex and the Electra complex. These complexes are when a child has feelings for the parent of the opposite sex and then becomes jealous of the other. Fourth stage is the latency stage, which spans from 6 years of age to puberty. This stage shows a more distinct understanding of the different sexes, but sexual urges are still repressed. The 5th and final stage is the genital stage, which starts when a child goes through puberty. During this stage, sexual urges have been awakened by puberty and the exploration of opposite sexes begins.
Yo, what's up? Let's kick it with my homie. He's hip on the stages, Erickson's his name, and you know he ain't playing. I wonder if you'll be there when I cry, and if you'll check to see if I'm wet or I'm dry. If you're there when I call, don't worry, I'll trust, but don't let me down, then my trust is a bust. If my mom is cool and she gives me hugs, I know that she will give me her forever love. But if my mom is a drag and she leaves me alone, I won't trust a soul and I'll be on my own. What stage am I in, do you know? Can you see I'm an Erickson stage of trust versus mistrust?
I can do it by myself, it's all about me, like making my food or going to the party. If I mess up, I might be sad and pout, and independence is what it's all about. What stage am I in, do you know? Can you see? I'm an Erickson stage of tuned out versus autonomy.
I wanna be the boss and do it my way, and if I could, I explore all day. Shoot me down, I'm embarrassed and guilty. Tell me I'm good, I'll be strong mentally. I'd like to imagine and dream real big. Am I good, am I bad? I don't know, I'm a kid. What stage am I in, do you know, can you see? I'm in Erickson stage of initiative and guilt.
Well, check it. I want to go to school, do well and succeed, and if I fail, I'll think less of me. I work real hard, I'll make you proud. Can you see me in the crowd if I struggle in school, if it gets too tough? No recognition, I feel I'm not enough. What stage am I in? Do you know? Can you see I'm in Erickson's stage of industry versus inferiority?
I don't know who I am or who I want to be. Can you just accept me for me? A nerd, preppy, hippie, or a jock? Diva, loner, outcast, or a god? What stage am I in? Do you know? Can you see? I'm in Erickson's stage of role confusion versus identity.
Kids are special and need your attention, so here are the stages that we thought we should mention. Know them well, do good by your patients, advocate for kids all ages and races. Pediatric nursing is where it's at, and we sure hope that you dug this rap.
Yeah. See.
There are 8 stages in Erickson's developmental theory. The first theory is trust versus mistrust. Children develop a sense of trust when caregivers provide reliability, care, and affection. A lack of this will lead to mistrust. The second stage is autonomy versus shame and doubt. Children need to develop a sense of personal control over physical skills and a sense of independence. Success leads to feelings of autonomy. Failure results in feelings of shame and doubt. The next stage is initiative versus guilt. Children need to begin asserting control and power over the environment. Success in this stage leads to a sense of purpose. Children who try to exert too much power experience disapproval, resulting in a sense of guilt. The next stage is industry versus inferiority. Children need to cope with new social and academic demands. Success leads to a sense of competence, while failure results in feelings of inferiority. Identity versus role confusion. Teens need to develop a sense of self and personal identity. Success leads to an ability to stay true to yourself, while failure leads to role confusion and a weak sense of self. The next stage is intimacy versus isolation. Young adults need to form intimate, loving relationships with other people. Success leads to strong relationships, while failure results in loneliness and isolation. Generativity versus stagnation. Adults need to create or nurture things that will outlast them, often by having children or creating a positive change that benefits other people. Success leads to feelings of usefulness and accomplishment, while failure results in shallow involvement in the world. The last stage is ego integrity versus despair. Older adults need to look back on life and feel a sense of fulfillment. Success at this stage leads to feelings of wisdom, while failure results in regret, bitterness, and despair. Now that you have heard an explanation of both psychologists, Freud and Erikson, let's now apply this and look at an example. Suppose 2 psychologists were observing 3-month-old Sam, who is in the arms of her mother. As Sam starts to fuss, her mother smiles at her warmly and gives her a pacifier to suck on. Sam settles down. Both psychologists witness the same behavior, but each interprets it differently. The first psychologist observes how Sam enjoys sucking on objects and attributes it to her need for oral pleasure. The second comments on the way Sam's mother responds warmly and positively to her daughter. Each will address her need to establish trust and attachment during her stage of life. Although both psychologists follow the psychoanalytic model, the first more closely follows Freud's interpretations, whereas the second is more closely aligned with Erikson's view. You can see how 2 professionals viewing the same behavior might read it differently, based on the theoretical perspective each has taken. Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory attributes personality development largely to unconscious sources. Freud was particularly interested in the early years of children, especially their early relationships. Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory focuses on how children's success with the developmental tasks or crises related to each life stage affect their development.